I went scuba diving with a friend. I was feeling nervous, okay, but I relaxed in the end. And, well, we said, all right, let's go down, right? And then my friend said to me, well, I'll hold your hand, but keep in mind that when we're down there will come a moment when I have to let go of your hand because I need to go up to breathe. You have a button to inflate the vest, right? I let go of that. So I really let go of my life. I was already dead inside, literally, but here I completely let go. Of course, normally you kick your fins and you go up, right? Well, not here. So at that moment it was like, huh, what's happening? And I sank down. I kept sinking, but it was like, I'm going to give it my all. And I kicked my fins really hard. And then I was left, it was just millimeters. I could see it millimeter by millimeter, but I couldn't even get my nose out. I couldn't get out. Everything turned white. I saw myself in the light. It's just that the light it's very hard to describe that light. And a peace that was incredible.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this new episode of Out of the Matrix on the Invisible. Today, we have a guest who is joining us for the first time. Her name is Veronica Pascual. She is a doctor and she is Spanish. But in addition, she is someone who has had more than one near-death experience. And that's the topic we're going to discuss with her today. So make yourselves comfortable because this is going to be a very entertaining Daha episode. Veronica, thank you so much for accepting the invitation and for being here with us today. Make yourself at home.
Thank you so much to you for the invitation. And I also wanted to thank everyone who is listening to the podcast.
Great.
Or who will listen.
Veronica, so what was your life like before? What was happening in your life? What was going on that triggered your first near-death experience? Because it usually happens that something is going on in people's lives, and that's when they tend to have this kind of experience. What was going on with you?
Yes. In fact, that's exactly the question I also find very interesting, because it's about what comes before a near-death experience. Because life, well, at least in my case, it was like this. Things weren't going well. I was in a relationship that wasn't really good. I was living with some roommates and that wasn't going well either. So the thing is, I put up with it for a really long time and I didn't have the courage to say, I want to make a change, or this is as far as I go. I don't want to continue. So I did so many things without really wanting to do them that I think in the end, well, life gave me a push. It kind of pushed me to live this experience in that way so that changes would happen in my life.
So you were at a point in your life where you were kind of stuck in a loop, right? Like living through the same experience, going back to the same thing, and you couldn't get out of it.
Yes, I would say I was a bit like the living dead. Just imagine.
A bit trapped by your circumstances.
Yes. Without being able to get out, come on from that. Yes.
And what exactly happened during your NDE? How did your first experience begin? What happened?
It was the first experience. Well, I have to say that since I was a baby, honestly, death has always been very present in my life, So from 6 months old, I started having very severe asthma attacks. And of course, that's because my parents told me about it, right? But back then, they were so serious that even the doctor said, well, it was almost like I wasn't going to survive, But in the end, I did survive. And here I am. So from that time, I have memories of very vague memories, but of course, I don't actually remember it. But death has been present since I was very little. And then apart from that, the first near-death experience I had as an adult that I remember was in Gran Canaria when I went scuba diving with a friend. And so I hadn't done the training. Honestly, I had no idea. I had never even gone diving before, It was the first time I was going to do it. I always mention this because I made a lot of reckless mistakes, one after another, This requires preparation. I just thought, I'll go into the sea and that's it, right? And on top of that, one of us had a tank, the other didn't. That was another huge mistake. You're supposed to go in pairs, both with equipment. We had just a few minutes of preparation, like this goes here, that goes there, and so on, right? Everything seemed fine, so off we went. So, well, I was feeling nervous, okay, but I relaxed in the end. And, well, we said, all right, let's go down, right? And then my friend said to me, okay, I'll hold your hand, but keep in mind that when we're down there, there will come a moment when I have to let go of your hand because I need to go up to breathe. And I was like, well, what am I supposed to say to that? Well, yes, of course, right? Everything was just perfect. But what happened? So, of course, we were going down and everything was fine. I could feel the warmth of his hand, the contact. But the moment he let go of me, I mean, the memory is like I opened my eyes like this and saw water, water, water. I mean, I saw the impact with the water. And then I got really scared. I swallowed water. I breathed in. I started to, at that point, I was already drowning. I started to drown. And then you have a button to inflate the vest, right? I let go of that. So I really let go of my life. I was already dead inside, literally. But here I just let go completely. And of course, your body instinctively wants to get out. So I started to kick upwards. And what happens that, of course, I mean, normally you kick and you come up, right? Well, not here. Here, your body doesn't.
You have a belt with lead?
With lead.
Of course.
So at that point, it was like, huh? What's happening? And I sank down. And then on the second attempt, I was more aware. Same thing. I wanted to get out. And there I could see, I mean, it was like everything was split between not being able to get out, but at the same time, I could see all the little waves of the sea moving like this, the rays of the sun. It was, I mean, everything, yeah, the image was beautiful, everything like that. But it was like, well, I want to get out. So I tried harder, stronger. No. And there I was already closer, but I still didn't make it to the surface. And at that point, I really became fully aware. I started sinking, but it was like, I'm going to give it my all. And there I pushed really hard, really hard. So I saw the same things and all that, but here it was the instinct to want to get my nose out and be able to breathe. And then I was left. It was just millimeters. I could see it millimeter by millimeter, but I couldn't, not even my nose, I couldn't get out. And that was when it got distressing. I mean, right there, of course, it's the body's ultimate struggle for survival. And at that point, I really gave it everything. I was exhausted. I couldn't do it anymore. And then I started to go down, 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 and that was it. It was like that image, but then suddenly everything just turned white, 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 white. I saw myself in the light. That light is it's very hard to describe that light. And a peace that was incredible. And there I was, and I kept descending into that light and that peace. And I think that was like it was like, this is as far as I can go because I've given everything, And at that moment already, I still felt myself going down, down, down. My friend says he saw me because I talked to him about it later. I spoke with him about it just a few years ago, relatively recently. Maybe two, not that long ago either. I hadn't even been able to talk about this with him. We never talked about it. I mean, it happened and we never talked about it. But anyway, at that point, he told me he saw me doing strange things. And so he went down. I mean, he tried to find me and realized something was happening to me. And he managed to press the button to inflate the vest. And then I came up to the surface. That's when I really started coughing. And then it's like, So I calmed down, I stabilized myself. And the two of us got out of the water, holding hands like this. We sat there on a rock without saying a word. It was really, actually what had happened was serious.
Of course.
For both of us, because he was also aware of the recklessness of going down with someone who doesn't know how. And so, of course. And that's it. We just stayed there, me on the rock, both of us. He left first because there were some friends, but they were much farther away. So he left. And then when I stayed there alone, like, I don't even know if I was reflecting on it. I can't even tell you, It was like being there, like saying, wow, what just happened, I wasn't even really aware, like what just happened here. And then when I calmed down more, I don't know when I felt it, but I went back. I saw them.
That's intense. Veronica, when you were when you descended, right? And you were originally holding your friend's hand. At that moment, you weren't really aware of how deep you were or what situation you were in because you were calm, you were relaxed. But the moment he let go, you realized then that you were deep underwater and that now, in that moment, you had to rely on yourself a bit. And that situation probably triggered a kind of stress, high stress, panic, and your reaction was instinctive. I have to go up. And you forgot everything you might have been taught, like pressing the button and all that, right?
No.
Of course.
Of course, that's exactly how it was. Panic, what I did, it was just like that, and swallowing and breathing at the same time, because you have I don't even really know the regular, I think it's the regulator or the breathing apparatus you wear here. So I ended up swallowing water and breathing at the same time. So I noticed that I felt it. I felt everything like that. Yeah. And besides the depth, that was another big mistake. I would say it was almost 7 meters deep. That's for a first dive with no experience, without a tank. That's just there's nothing else I can say. It's just crazy.
Of course.
It couldn't have been more reckless.
I once had a diving experience, but I was with an instructor the whole time. We went down to about 7 meters, but he had a tank and everything, and he was always right next to me,
He's watching out. Yes.
It's a really beautiful experience, but very intimidating. And what happened to you must have been very intimidating. Did you at any point feel or have the intuition that you were really going to die? Or did that not even cross your mind at any moment? You didn't rationalize it. You didn't become aware of it.
Yes. I surrendered to everything. I can't get out. That's it. I'm leaving. Yes.
And you didn't think about anything else. It's like it's over. That was how you felt.
Yes. Here. Well, I always speak for other NDEs as well about the anguish of death. Because there's that distressing moment when you're suffocating, but once you get through it, there's so much more. And then there's this peace, these sensations. In my case, it was that white light enveloping that enveloped everything, and it enveloped me. And from there, it was, I didn't think anymore. I was just immersed in that.
So when you enter that white light, there's total silence. It's like a feeling of silence, right? Of like solitude in a way, but at the same time it feels like a company. It's a strange thing because it's interesting, but I've heard several accounts about it, and usually that light, it's more than just a light. It's like you can describe it as a light so people can understand, but diote, you feel that this light is somehow conscious, as if it has intelligence, and it often gives you a feeling of wholeness and deep love. It's something really hard to describe,
It can't be explained with words. I've already said that I've done very deep meditations, a whole lot. And I've come close to feeling that sensation, but never. Is it exactly the same? It's just really hard to describe what it is. It's I can't really explain it to you. Well, not properly. It's like a piece that expands at the same time. Maybe that's it. You are consciousness. You are light, pure light, you feel that, but you're in your body. You feel your body. I felt the sensations of descending, the cold, everything. But at the same time, there was that light and that incredible white peace.
You, living this experience there, did you at any point feel that there were other people, or did you experience it alone? Was the sensation that you were alone in that light? And the other thing I wanted to ask you, your perception of time, did it change? Could you say if it was minutes? Did it feel like hours? Or was it like a fraction of time? It's hard to define time, isn't it?
Yes. I can't give you a specific amount of time. Maybe it was moments. It wasn't, it was, yeah, no, I really can't tell you, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't a really, really long time either, but it was some time because I went in and out 3 times. So it's not like, but I can't tell you the exact amount of time. I just can't.
Erica, and you, uh, from what I understand, it was hard for you to share this experience with more people. For a long time, you were you kept it to yourself, or maybe just shared it with people who were very close to you. What motivated you to share it with others and publicly, like you're doing now, or this experience, and other experiences that we're going to talk about in this interview? What was your motivating factor?
Of course, look, with this first experience, I didn't even know what a near death experience was, honestly. So I told it to the friends I trusted the most, you know, to the people closest to me. Because with all this, of course, when I came back to, at that time I was living in Valencia. And when I came back to my house, I had been with a friend who was, a close friend, you know? And then she looked at me and said, "Hey," she said, "what happened to you? You're not the same, you know? I don't know what happened to you, but you're definitely not the same." And then that's when I started to talk about it more. And another friend told me, "What you're describing is a near-death experience. What you went through is serious. I knew about gravity, but then I started to become aware, and I started to investigate more things too."
It's interesting what you mentioned about these profound changes that happen to many people after near-death experiences. In fact, there are cases. I've personally spoken with people who have had NDEs, Nemo, and it creates a kind of sense of alienation, like they don't recognize themselves afterward. They look in the mirror and find it a bit strange. Very particular situations arise. And this also affects relationships with other people. The way relationships are handled changes. In fact, it's quite interesting, but there is a high percentage studied of divorces after NDEs, you know. It even influences romantic relationships.
That's what happened to me.
See, there you go.
Yes, it's that I came back. Yes. Of course, you return to a world. That is your world. But at the same time, you are no longer the person you were before this experience. So you seem to be the same, apparently, but you feel like a stranger. And then you don't fit in. It's like a mold that you no longer fit into that. You used to fit the mold, and now you don't fit there anymore. And so it was like going crazy in the sense that I came back. And I think I was more myself than ever, because what I said was out of my life. I didn't say it quite like that, but it's like the relationship was over, you know?
Yes.
It's because I have to be in a relationship that I can see, well, that it's not right, you know? Or I don't want to be in it, but I didn't dare to end it. Well, maybe at that point I had the strength to say, no, I don't want to go out. And with my roommates, well, the same thing happened. Not for any particular reason. It's just that I felt that wasn't my place. And so I decided to leave.
So you started making a fundamental life change, let's say?
Yes.
One that you had been putting off?
Yes, a pretty radical one. People are difficult. The people around you say, what's happening to me? Of course. Your parents would say, of course. Besides that, it cost me money, you know? Like leaving a rental early. Right. Yes.
And when you told your parents, your family, your siblings, your closest family, how did they take it? What did they think?
No, with my family, it was fine, you know? Actually, my father isn't very spiritual, but he's had some very intense experiences. And my mother is more spiritual and has also had experiences. So I didn't feel judged or bad or anything. They just saw me as like this craziness of everything outside of, in my life, that my father said to me, "What's wrong with you?" Of course, because, you know, and besides the money thing, like I said, it was like everything all at once. And in the end, I told them, "No, don't worry, everything's fine."
And it turned out fine. In the end, everything worked out.
Let's see. It depends on how you look at it, because then I kept having near-death experiences. But yes, I think I became more myself again, reconnected with my essence. And with lost parts, at least I felt better, you know? More. In the end, I was with other friends. other people, either more like-minded or in a different way, and I felt better.
Of course. You returned to your essence and not so much the persona you had built up over your life.
Exactly. Well, I want to say, well, at that point, I was still very much in my head. Don't get me wrong. What happened was my sensitivity increased, that I really noticed a lot.
Okay.
You know, I've always had a lot of sensitivity and I can perceive a lot. But from that point on, I could very clearly sense other people's emotions.
I see. You started to be more empathetic and you connected from
Wait,
a very deep empathy. You knew when someone was feeling sadder or had a problem, even if they weren't expressing it verbally.
of course. In fact, I would be on the train and maybe I would notice things and so on and other, and I could really sense people a lot. Later, it started happening with close friends. And then I would feel certain things and with them, well, I would feel very different things. And in the end, I asked them, I said, well, to one person in particular, I said, hey, look, I'm noticing this. I mean, are you okay? Because I'm picking up on things. I said, I don't even know if they're real or not. But the fact is I'm sensing them because it's like I can't stop feeling them. And it was like, how do you know? Because sometimes there can be things and they're really hidden deep inside the person, but I can sense them. And it was real. It was real.
Imagine that.
So
Yeah. Well, there are some websites, there are some platforms. There's a platform in the United States, I can't remember the name right now, that has thousands of documented cases, and there are studies and surveys. And there I saw that there's also a not insignificant percentage of people who report that after their NDE, certain psychic sensitivities awakened in them, Yes. No, a very small percentage. How did your relationship or your impression of what we might call the spiritual after this experience or that kind of field, let's say, how did it change?
of course, I would say that even though I've always been very spiritual, but later, with my career, with medicine, with everything, my mind became very scientific. So I think I closed the door a bit on spirituality, and so I was even against, because I saw well, a person who well, now YouTube and everything is everywhere, everything is so accessible, but when at the beginning, when all this, and relatively it's not that long ago, really not that long ago, but on YouTube, well, it wasn't what it is now. So there was a video and I saw a girl who in her MRI said, well, I mean, with multiple sclerosis, right, I have lesions and all that, but I actually have nothing. And I would argue, like, having nothing means your lesions disappear. Basically, I would write a comment on things. People would reply to me. I mean, I was a bit very blunt, very strict, not exactly scientific, So I think with this, with each experience, what has opened up for me more and more is spirituality, which maybe I already had before, but now it has really opened up and grown much stronger.
Interesting. Hey, but well, you had more than one experience, Renata. What happened afterwards? How long after did you have other kinds of experiences that you could link to NDEs or directly to NDEs?
It was 7 years later.
So quite a bit of time had passed.
Yes, more or less 7. I mean, with multiple sclerosis, it's true that I've had some very severe flare-ups since then, but the most serious one no, more time had passed. I mean, I've had very severe flare-ups, and the really, really serious one, the one that left me with the swallowing problem that affected my brainstem, that was in 2020.
So about 5 years ago.
Yes.
And what happened then?
Well, what happened here is that with this flare-up, it affected my mobility. On one hand, well, they were going to admit me because it was serious too, due to the lack of mobility because of what happened to me. But suddenly, the night I was admitted, I was having dinner and started coughing. I mean, it was just a pear and a yogurt, nothing unusual, right? I started coughing and coughing and coughing. Then in the morning, more coughing, more coughing, more coughing. And by then it was really, really strange. I started to get worse. I choked. Um, that's it. I mean, we rushed out. They gave me an MRI and you could see the lesions. They were, I mean, very high up and in the medulla. That's where the vital centers are. It affected my swallowing and I couldn't breathe properly either. And that was very serious. So then right away they rushed me in and did plasmapheresis, which is a type of dialysis where they remove the antibodies from your body to try to stop them, to remove them from the blood so they stop attacking me, to reduce the inflammation, you know? And well, then I was surprised here, but I was in such bad shape. Like I said, it was just like, okay, whatever, you know? I was also scared. I was scared. I don't know. It shocked me. It surprised me. But I was just in such bad shape and with so much going on that it was, oh my goodness. So the experience I had here, it's not really an experience. For me, it's not a near death experience. It's just that I saw myself floating up by the ceiling of the room where the doctors were because I got really bad at one point during the plasmapheresis. So they were holding my hand. I mean, I saw them and I saw myself from up above, from the ceiling, looking down at everything. And that I just want to say it impacted me, but I didn't feel like I was going to die there. You know, it was more like strange things are happening to me and all that. And then from the touch of the PO, of the nurses and the doctor who were holding me, it was like I came back into my body, you know. And then, but from that night on, and since, the hospitalization lasted more than a month. It was very complicated. So from that point on, at night, this really, I mean, things kept getting worse. And not every night, but on many of them. And I wouldn't say almost every night, but on a large number of them. I would go through the tunnel, you know? So yes, here it's just completely different. It has nothing to do with it.
That's what I was going to ask you. If it was very different from the first experience?
No, because for me, this is an out-of-body experience, you know. Well, different from the first one, the diving one.
Right, that's what I was going to ask you.
Very different as well. And I'll tell you, they're similar in the white light. Because the white light here what I saw was the tunnel. It was a black tunnel. And at the end, there was the light.
Just like you'd imagine a tunnel, basically.
Like you see in the movies, a black tunnel. And I saw little shining dots like that, as if they were stars. They were, but very, I mean, like something shiny. And the light at the end of the tunnel.
Ah, wow.
So when I got there, I mean, it's the soul that arrives. So I would get there and they would push me back. I mean, all I can say is that they sent me back to my body.
Did you feel like your body was being pulled back?
They sent me back to my body.
I see.
I can't say I went back. No. It was like they sent me back and suddenly it was like,
hey, what you were saying was different. So this out of body experience, you had where you saw yourself from above, right?
yes.
Which is also what others describe. Well, there are NDEs that talk about these out of body experiences. Interesting, because I see that your experiences, the ones you've had a bit of different types of out of body experiences. I mean, sorry, NDEs, because there are people who report having had the experience of seeing their body from above. There are others who describe the tunnel and others who don't mention the tunnel and are in a state. There are others who see. They are enveloped in a white light, like what happened to you. It's interesting because you've experienced different aspects of NDEs in your own experience.
It's that I have a mix. Yes. And then in the process of dying, well, of course, actually, let me tell you, I'm telling you this for a reason, because I think death has always been present with me, always. I think there is much more, and well, let me tell you what I was going to say about the process of dying, which is that when I was so unwell during my hospitalization, at first you care about material things, the people close to you, about this and that, but as your condition worsens, it's as if your body starts to deteriorate. And at the same time, you begin a process of turning inward deeper and deeper inside yourself. So, not all deaths are like that, but many are, or in aging, or in any illness, cancer, something like that. When it's terminal, any illness like that, well, it's like, it's a letting go, isn't it? Of the physical. So, of the material. In my case, it was like that, as if everything important in my life was fading away, At first, I did pick up my phone and replied. In the end, no. People didn't even answer, not because they didn't want to, but because they really couldn't. And at that point, people started to get a bit worried, like, what's going on, So then they started talking to my family, like, yeah, but honestly, I just couldn't. So that process of dying, at the same time as the NDEs at night, this was happening to me. I would call my family members, I could feel I was dying. I would call. At that point, you also have support at the end of a dying process. And so at the same time, it was like an NDE like that. And I was also experiencing the process of detachment, of a slow death.
Like slowly fading away little by little, let's say.
Yes.
Getting ready for it. When you had these tunnel experiences, right? Were you aware of the experience? Did you understand that you were dying, or were you not aware of it? Did you just see it without judgment, without analysis?
No, in this case, I was aware.
Oh, really?
Yes.
So while you felt yourself in the tunnel, you knew you were finishing the experience.
Yes. In fact, that's it. My husband, who was next to me, he also thought I was going to die. Well, he went through. It was very distressing for both of us. Yes.
And when you were living through this experience, right? Already in the tunnel, what was the general feeling, if you could describe it?
For me, it was distressing here.
I see. Look, unlike being in the light under the sea, it was different.
Yes. It was just distressing. And that they were sending me back from there, It was like, boom, back to the body, and back to the body. Yes. And in fact, so it wasn't that long ago either. Dr. Maria Belon, who is the one from the movie, she went with her family to Thailand. It was in 2004. A tsunami hit there, and she experienced the same thing, a near-death experience with her family. They got separated. They all went through a really hard time, and in the end, they found each other again, and they're alive. But she, in an interview I saw, she explains that her near-death experiences brought her back to her body abruptly. I mean, she's the only person I've heard of who says that returning to the body happened to her in this way. You feel a lot of things, but at least for her, the return to the body was also like that. Trauma, abrupt, It's not like, oh, how peacefully I enter my body with, Yeah. And
there's a movie about that, right? About that experience.
Yeah, it's called The Impossible.
Oh, look, The Impossible.
Yes.
And this abrupt return to the body is the sensation like when you fall. Like is it as abrupt as a fall?
Like a jolt backwards, like that? You can't really, it could be like that, but it's more like, boom, you're shoved inside. I don't know how to explain it,
Right. But was it?
It's not like that. It was a really abrupt jolt in the body. I can't really explain it either.
Hey, but was it distressing? Because you couldn't reach the light? Was the tunnel stage distressing, or was it the return? That was distressing.
The return.
But when you were going toward the light, what did you feel? Was it a different feeling? Like, were you calmer?
Yes, I don't have any bad feeling about that part of the journey. I think I didn't feel good or bad. It's like being there, seeing the tunnel, and like you're sliding along, and you're almost there, but then you get pushed back. You don't really feel they sent me back.
It's like it's a portal of light that you can't go through. You're kept out.
Exactly. No, I couldn't go in. No. In fact, it was really close, but no, I couldn't go in.
It was close, look.
I couldn't get through it. I was there, but I just couldn't get through. No, like almost, right? It's like being at a door and they won't let you in.
And you couldn't see anything on the other side. You didn't see what was left.
No, it was just white. It was white. But I do feel, I do know that no, they sent me back. That's the only thing I can say.
Did you ever feel the presence of a guide, a deceased relative, or someone else with you? Did you always experience it as just you alone in the tunnel experience, for example?
Yes, but at night I would call out, like, I wasn't completely well, but I did call out to my family members.
Your family member had passed away, or your family member?
No, they're alive, but I would call out to them.
Ah, okay.
The dad, I don't know. Like I said, I would call out to them.
And how many of these tunnel experiences did you have? Did you have more than one? Were there several? Many? Was it always the same? Did it vary?
Yes, everything is always the same.
The same thing?
Always the same. So the doctors would come, they ran a ton of tests on me. But well, apparently everything was fine. And again, I felt terrible, but well, I seemed okay. So we kept going. Within how bad things were, I was stable. Yes.
That's intense. And when you felt yourself in the tunnel and you were already close to the light, did you want to go through the light? Did you want to do it? Or were you not aware? How did you experience that?
Of course. Look, a part of me wanted to leave, obviously. The suffering the thing is that the entry was very hard. Living through that, I understand now, was incredibly tough. So I'm sure my soul, part of it, wanted to leave. Well, not just part, all of it. But at the same time, I always split myself into two things as well. One part that wants to die, and another that really wants to live and fully enjoys life. With everything. I live life with a lot of intensity, and I also believe that death is part of the process. But a part of me right there, I'm sure wanted to stay, the part that was leaving.
I understand. You wanted to leave this life experience and basically go back home.
Basically.
Hey, and this dichotomy you have, did you start experiencing it after your first NDE, or is it something you've always gone through in your life? That there's a part of you that would like to leave this plane a bit, which is totally valid, right?
Yes, I honestly think it's something that's always been with me. Like I said, ever since I was a child, even during adolescence, I've gone through periods like that of deep sadness, with a strong desire for life, but also a part of me with deep sadness.
Sometimes I think that some of us have a kind of longing for the experience on the other side. It's like we have some kind of memory, something remains with us, and from what I understand, it's so different that it's almost like missing it, missing going back home a little. That feeling is there somewhat. Vero, and aside from these experiences, were these the last experiences you had?
The one with the fire in 2023.
Did you have another one? Yes. Okay, got it. What happened there? How was that?
That's why I tell you. I'll tell you later. Well, this happened first. I have to laugh now because I use humor. Sometimes I make jokes about when the afterlife arrives, like, look, you're here already. Or that it's going to be the easiest thing, but that's because everything else is so tough.
Of course. You're basically doing a master's in near-death experiences and the journey process. Vero, so what happened there? What happened during the fire? Tell us about that.
There it is. The same thing happened again because I was going through situations I didn't want to experience either. It was like discomfort in a house. So I changed houses. And what happened was that on the third day in the new house, I was left alone because my husband, just the night before it was his father's birthday, he went to his parents' house because he wanted to be with him and everything. And I said, well, I'll just stay here. It was bad luck. And that night in the early morning, I started to hear screams and, like screams. Okay, I wasn't fully asleep and I heard them. They calmed down. Then I heard them again, and it seemed to me like they were coming from the street, but kind of outside and to the right, like on the street to the left. Nothing. But what happened? That, again, I started to hear more screams, and then it was like, okay, I'm going to check. So I say, I'll go to the living room and look out the window since you can see that area better. Oh, and I see it. And what happened when you opened the door? The flames were right in front of me. So it was like, or of course it was, oh my God. I said, oh my God, it's not over there. It's here. You could see them behind the window. I mean, I opened the door, there was the bathroom, and in the bathroom there was a window, and behind that window were the flames.
And this was, did you live in an apartment, in a house?
It was the 8th floor.
In an apartment, on a floor, on the 8th floor. So even more complicated.
So instinct kicks in there. The same thing, instinct takes over. This isn't a situation where you stop to think and suddenly become zen. No, it's pure and raw survival. So I had my clothes right on a chair next to me. I got dressed in a rush and tried to run out. But that smoke burned my lungs from the inside. I really breathed it in. And it was like, I was like this, it burns you so much that you start to feel like you're on fire and you begin to suffocate. You can't breathe anymore either, because when you breathe in smoke, you either need high flow oxygen, which is the treatment when you get smoke inhalation from a fire, or just breathe normally, but you can't. And well, the owner who lived in front called me and told me the firefighters said, go to the last room, put towels down, wet them, right? Everything that's recommended, well, what they say you should do in a fire. But of course, by then the smoke was already everywhere. So while I grabbed the towels and wet them, even if you try not to breathe, in the end you have to breathe something. So then I put the towels around the door frame and everything, but smoke kept coming in from the sides and the windows because of the wind. The house had windows at the back and the front, so the smoke, the wind was blowing toward my window. The one that was, the others were where the flames were. So I had to go to the opposite ones. So the wind there it came in that direction. It made a U shape, basically. So it reached me. The air that was, the little I could breathe, wasn't normal air. It was also filled with smoke, both inside and outside.
I don't know. Of course, smoke was coming in through the door and the window too.
Exactly.
And you couldn't go out the window because you were on the 8th floor, basically.
You can't get out? No.
How distressing.
So I could see everything. I could see everything below. The ambulances, the firefighters, people in the street, and then there was the moon. It looked so beautiful. And yes, the stars, the mountain, really. It was like, again, kind of like with the diving, like how beautiful, how lovely. Because what I saw looking up was incredible, but looking down was all the commotion.
But what you saw looking up, was that something your soul was already seeing? Or was it actually a beautiful night? Just to understand.
No, that was real. That was real.
So it was a beautiful night that you were seeing.
Yes. So, well, I was kind of torn between the beauty of, wow, how lovely, and what's happening, and how bad I was starting to feel. So in the end, I really did see myself leaving. I mean, in the end, it was like a bubble rising upward.
What was that like? How was that?
Well, of course, that's when I panicked. That's why I always insist on the anguish of death, because I think it's very important to be aware, in the process of dying, whether it's fast or slow, because there comes a point when you might feel this. And if you're aware of this process, at least for me, this third time, I panicked. Of course, because I saw myself there, unable to get out, unable to escape, nothing. I was on the 8th floor. I couldn't jump. I couldn't do anything. So, but it was like, there's no point in letting myself get into that, in staying panicked or stressed, because what I'll do is use up more. I mean, I'll make myself feel much worse. I'll use up more oxygen and I'll be in an even worse state. Okay? I composed myself and calmed down. So for anyone, I think it should be, I'd say it's almost essential to be aware of this, because what helped me here was what I'd experienced before, that you go through this, you surrender. It's a quick acceptance of death. You don't know what's going to happen, but it's a surrender. and here it's difficult for me. The whole thing about death, like death doesn't exist. Let's just be happy, you know. I mean, I get it and I respect it. In fact, people I care about a lot say it that way. But for me, there's this process in front of me, you know. So it's really important to pay attention to it in every way. But in every way really means every way, even before this in life. Because being aware here, being able to reach that point in peace without unfinished business, you know, without emotions trapped in the body because of mental stuff, things like that will make anyone's transition much easier, you know. So that evolution is continuous and nothing gets stuck because there are people here who believe in reincarnation, right? Here, everyone can have their own beliefs. I do believe in reincarnation. Well, I've believed that since I was a child. I mean, I've believed in the existence of, since I was a child, in reincarnation, and that when someone dies, it's like your home is, well, you return to the stars, right? That's what I think. And well, it's that's it, that this process can be made more difficult if you don't pay attention to that point. And I think it's super important.
Super important. In fact, we've discussed this here at some point. And note that I also understand that if when one lives as an illusory first stage. So if you don't have lucidity, if you don't have clarity, you might experience an illusion that's not so positive. Someone who believes they deserve hell and are going to hell because they think they deserve it will actually experience their own hell for a while until they realize they're the ones creating it. And that's also why it's important to pass away peacefully, to go in peace and to let go, because letting go and surrendering is what gives you freedom, right? The freedom to fully and peacefully experience what comes next. That's why many times when people are in terminal stages, they're often fighting, holding on, enduring, because, for example, there's someone they want to say goodbye to or see one last time, or maybe they're afraid to go, and then someone comes to be with them to explain what the process is like, and they relax, let go, and pass away. My mother does that. She accompanies people in terminal stages, and she guides them, helps them in that final phase, and then they let go and pass away. It's liberating.
Yes. In fact, I think that's what I'm doing in some way, and what I'm going to do.
Oh, really?
Because, yes, I think that I've always done it in the hospital. I've always been present in situations where, you know, deaths have occurred. So yes, I've been there to support, you know, or holding hands. Or I've told the family, oh, don't worry, this happened. It wasn't expected to happen. I say, oh, but your loved one wasn't alone, you know? There were people. We were with him. He passed away accompanied, being comforted, right? So I think that's what I've done. And I keep doing it in a different way. And I'm going to get more training, because I'm going to study thanatology and grief support. I mean, at the end of life, right? Yes, because all the circumstances have come together. It's just that death won't let me go. I mean, it won't let me go. Oh, it just won't let me go.
A great inspiration there is Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. For anyone who doesn't know her, I recommend looking her up a bit. Her work as a psychiatrist is really, really interesting. And
well, oh yes, sorry.
No, yes.
Yes, her work is incredible. I know it, I've read it. Yes. And it's highly recommended because she was a doctor, and likewise she was very sensitive. She could perceive. And right, with people, like with those who were terminally ill, she achieved a lot. She accompanied them like from soul to soul and from heart to heart, right? And besides, she also gave it a scientific perspective. She brought that scientific vision as well.
Of course.
In studies.
For her time, she also had a lot of detractors and faced a lot of clashes, but well, she fought for what she believed in, was consistent, and and helped so many people. So if there is a heaven, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross truly deserves it.
And then, well, this also ties into what you were asking me about why I'm sharing this now. Because at first I shared it with Inti, with friends, or with the people closest to me. But after the fire, well, the thing is, well, the firefighters arrived at the end, right? At the moment when I was already leaving, uh, because well, I picked up my phone to say goodbye to my mother. I was going to send a voice message to say goodbye so she could send it to the people I loved most, you know? And in that moment, I felt a deep love, a very great love.
That's what I was going to ask you. Like the last stage before your rescue, so to speak, what you experienced. Did you feel that sensation of light again, or was it just your bodily sensation of finding peace in that chaos?
Here, it's just that here I started to split, you know? Here, I was, even though I could see that above, I mean, it was like I was already leaving. I was kind of floating. I was already going. So the same thing, I would come back down below. Things were happening that no longer had anything to do with me, you know, as if they were getting farther and farther away. And I was going up, up, up with the sky and the stars. I mean, I think my soul was already leaving my body, you know?
And when you started to experience that, when you describe it as your soul leaving your body, did you feel any stress or anguish or panic?
No.
It lessened.
No. I went through that before. By going through it, by accepting death, by realizing I couldn't get out of there, I just couldn't get out, you know, because I'm not going to jump. No. Well, you could jump and commit suicide. There are people who, when they can't take it anymore, they jump.
Yes, 11 floors.
I wasn't going to do that here. I decided not to. So, well, I went through that anguish, that transition there, and then I accepted death. Then serenity came, and from that serenity, I started to feel, and I felt love for the people I cared about deeply, for my family, for my friends.
Did you have the time to be able to connect with that in that moment?
Yes. I felt love, so much love and gratitude.
Wow.
Yes, a lot of gratitude.
Did you ever have that kind of life review experience in any of your experiences?
No. But I would say that only recently. And it's like doing a recap. Right now I'm in that process, Mike. Recapping my life and it's I don't know how to put it. It's like, but now I feel like I'm at that point of looking at my whole life from here backwards and seeing what I leave behind. There are things that have to go. And what is new. And in what's new, death and accompanying it have a strong presence.
Of course. Talking with you, I get the sense that you're still processing the whole experience. I think you're still living it intensely. I mean, everything that everything your life involves, right? Looking back, because it's also quite unique to have had so many intense experiences and to be here, isn't it?
Yes. No, and I almost died. It's just that I constantly have to, I mean, just recently, I mean, it's that death is constantly
hovering around you.
It's like it connects with me and reaches me very strongly. So yes, I am processing a literal death right now.
After having lived through all these intense experiences, right? Because let's see, most people have had one NDE in their life. 2 is already rare. But having so many experiences it's unusual. And that's why I wanted to ask you if having lived through them maybe makes you understand or lets you deduce or feel that maybe it has to do with your soul's plan. What do you think about that? How do you feel about it? How do you experience it?
Yes, exactly. I think I do think so, that it's the soul that wants to live these experiences for its own evolution, but because with each experience there's a very big change. Call it, I don't know, expansion of consciousness. It doesn't matter to me. You just don't fit into this mold, you know? If I already had a changed mold, something else, it changes differently. Things keep leaving my life, things I didn't want that were just, I mean, they were just there for the sake of being there. I haven't been able to let go of them, you know? I haven't had enough strength to face it and say it or do it. The soul doesn't, I mean, I don't know if it's the soul's path that finds its own way like that. And but then at the same time, it really connects me to life, to the process of living, to beauty, to enjoying every moment. So, well, when I was in 2015, when I also went through a tough, it was also a really bad time because of episodes. I mean, yes, I've been like, I didn't really have a break. The breaks have been short, right? And so, well, I studied photography, and I think that with photography, I also found a way to show beauty, even in very difficult processes, but that can be seen. They move, but still, there's beauty, you know? It's a way to show realities that aren't seen to accompany and to be there with people, you know?
And in what areas are you working on this?
Yeah, right now the project is about dialysis, transplantation, and donation. And it's the perspective, like I've always been on the medical side, you know? And I always say that when you go to the doctor, maybe you're there for 20 minutes, 15, 10, it doesn't matter, right? The day has 24 hours. So the human part, this part is human. But you go here, they take care of you, right? Or however long it lasts, it doesn't matter. Or if it's an admission, it doesn't matter. It's a specific amount of time. The day and the life of each person is so much more. So now the photos are of what it's like to live with dialysis, which is a tough process. The family from that perspective, and of course donation. So it's about experiencing everything with awareness and gratitude. Even the family members who, well, at that moment, make the decision. It's very hard, isn't it? So they're photos, but taken with a lot of awareness. It's not just I get a transplant and that's it. It's about gratitude, about honoring the process, honoring the other person, wishing that the other person has a peaceful passing, being thankful. Yes, it's a process carried out with awareness, and that's what I'm doing.
Wow. Very powerful work. Very, very beautiful too.
Yes.
Very.
I'm in the realm of what I don't know.
Very soulful, right? We could define it that way.
Yes.
Very much from a place of deep sensitivity.
Yes.
How beautiful. Vero, have you had the chance to share with other people who have experienced NDEs? Do you have that opportunity? Because, for example, among mediums, it's fun because you talk and, well, you end up sharing experiences, seeing the similarities or not, and you ask each other questions and it turns out to be interesting. Now, what about the NDE people? Have you shared with them?
Yes.
And how has that turned out?
Well, look, his name is David Paya. He has also interviewed many people, and he publishes us as well in Beyond Consciousness, because he has done it, and we are doing it with him. So we met once, and now we're going to have a second session. So there are several of us who have shared the CM, and actually we agree on some things. Sometimes we think differently. Each person has their own nuances. It's very interesting.
And is there anyone you feel you really connect with, like your experiences are very similar?
Yes. Very similar in the sense that they've experienced it, like I have.
You know, when you hear about the experience, like the tunnel or the light, and you listen to their story and it's just the same as yours.
That's what surprised me, the diving one, when I arrived, because the hospital was working in Cadiz. So when I got there, I told it because there are rotations, so I was in the ICU. When I was there, I told my colleagues what had happened to me while diving and all that, and they said to me, I can't believe it. A girl almost my age at the same time had the same thing happen to her while diving there. It happened to her exactly the same way. The story, I mean, everything was the same. But then it got complicated. She developed bilateral pneumonia, was admitted to the ICU, and that's where she passed away. But it was just so similar. And I think the same thing could have happened to me.
Of course, you were on the edge. If your friend hadn't come down.
Exactly. The same story. And I don't know if I did or didn't. Like I said, I was dead inside. you know? I was feeling so bad before that a little more, it didn't really matter to me. So that's it. Whether it was a bit fetal or physically I was just done, well, yes, I went through it. I went through it, and that's it. But honestly, I was kind of amazed at how similar it was, and it just wasn't my time, of course.
Of course. Vero, if you could draw a parallel between the Vero from before your first CM and the Vero you are now, what are the main differences you see in yourself?
Humanity.
The way you look at things?
Yes. For me, a person's essence is the most important thing. It's like seeing into people's hearts. I could see it before, but now it's from a place of simplicity, with much more humility, much more real. I would say genuine. I'm not saying I don't have to work on it. I mean, maybe sometimes little flashes still come up in front of me. Sometimes I notice it like, oh, this is from before. But no, I think it's a very pure soul to soul connection and a kind of support that I truly understand. I understand that, or with the family members as well. For me, the family members are also very important. They need to be at peace too. Well, they need to be. Ideally, throughout the whole process, because they also suffer a lot. Someone leaves. And it's true, there's this peace and the path that continues. Sometimes you can get more or less caught up in the circumstances and everything. Ideally, it's like the evolution of the soul, calm, at peace, and following its own path. But sometimes the family, who also suffer a great deal, might hold on or make this process a bit more difficult. So understanding is also very important there.
And I imagine that your life priorities changed quite a bit, right? Before and after.
Yes. And they keep changing.
Yes, they keep evolving. But I feel like you're still living through the process, like you're still processing it.
Because they haven't let me, I mean, because death, like I said, I'm still going through it. It's not 3 requests from people close to death, but they are situations where death is near. So it's touching me. So yes, I am going through this process. As of today, let's go.
If you had to define death in a single phrase, how would you define it?
Well, I would say that death is a circular transit of light. Explain it. I'd say it's because it's a round trip. It's like a circle. Like you go and then you come back and then you go again. And well, there will be a moment when maybe either you become the circle, become light, and return to unity and become one. But it's like a passage where you go, you live, you begin, you end.
Interesting.
And then, can I tell you more about regression therapy? Because I've also done many sessions and everything. So in the moment, I've experienced the moment of conception. The soul wanted to go to that moment. So what impacted me the most is that the same light that is the moment of conception has the same white light as the moment of death, you know? So even with this, it makes sense because you start with a light and you end with a light.
Look, I mean, it's like the entrance and the exit of the experience are through the same door, so to speak.
Yes. And in fact, physically it exists. The corona radiata is formed. There is a reaction around the ovum with zinc, which those who have recorded it, you can see that it's all white around the ovum when the sperm has entered. So I think that reaction and that light are real. So it's the entrance door, but the same white light is the exit door.
Sometimes I've thought that the same perspective of the tunnel with the light at the end is like the birth canal too. It's like entering.
Yes.
Uh-huh. How crazy. And what do you think now? Why do you think that suddenly there are several channels exposing these topics and they're being accepted? The medical community has also opened up much more. In some way, it has contributed to that because, well, I don't know how it is in Spain, but here in Chile, doctors are always regarded as authorities, right? So I imagine that the fact that there are some doctors who present it seriously gives it a certain weight, and the community has become more open to listening to these topics with a bit more respect, or maybe by giving it the space that it might deserve, right? and not being so skeptical. Why do you think this is happening? Because I think it must be just the last 4 years. I don't think it's been longer than that, right?
Yes. Of course, maybe it's because everyone talks about the change in consciousness, right? Whether it's happening or not, whether it's real or not. I think now that change is happening on a collective level. It's true that all opinions are, it's true, they're all valid. But when it comes from the scientific world, right? It's like maybe you say the credit. I don't know if it should be that way or not, but anyway, the point is that the credit, like it could be, you might believe it, that the credibility is greater, right? And besides, well, I think there are a lot of things. I always say that spirituality is undiscovered science.
Almira Lafe.
Thank you. We're at a moment with, even with quantum physics and with so many scientific investigations, that, I mean, we're starting to understand more about consciousness. There are still so many things that are unexplainable. We still have no idea what's going to happen. How much change? I mean, honestly, I think we're at a 0 point, you know? And for me, I think the change is already here. And I believe this is going to be the true beginning of the awakening of consciousness. In the past, it happened little by little. But it seems to me that it's here now and it's happening already.
So you're saying this is just getting started.
I think so, yes. Some even believe that consciousness is housed in the body's electromagnetic fields. What's missing is the response of the individual, personal individuality from each person. That doesn't.
Vero, what would you say to someone who is going through a terminal experience, who is about to pass away? What would you say to that person? What would you say to their family members? Or to someone who might be watching this interview and has a loved one who is already terminal? What would you say to that person? From your experience, Planios, of being there, of living through something that not many people have experienced.
Yes. Well, look, regarding illness, as I understand it completely, first of all, it's a process that depends on what stage the person is at, you know? Because before, when you're still well, it's about making the most of life. And those things you say, I still haven't done this or that, well, try somehow to do them, even if it seems silly, you know? Because, well, in my case, it was like that. During the fire, it's true that my eyebrow here was left a bit without hair, right? I was missing a few hairs here and there, and I thought, really, I'm going to die with this eyebrow missing hairs right here. It seems silly, and this even makes me a bit embarrassed to say, but I was missing those hairs, and you could see this little white patch here, you know? And it's like, why not get something like microblading, right? The thing that, and it's hair by hair, and you can't even tell. Well, I was going to die with that, you know?
Of course.
So, well, that might seem silly. So for someone, try to fulfill, or the family members, or have them ask, is there anything left unfinished? Anything you wish for? What do you want? What don't you want? You know, that the wishes of that person are really respected. Or that, imagine if the families are in disagreement, that they reach some kind of agreement. And then also to follow the course of how things evolve, because it's important to understand and to explain in advance what they might experience. This feeling of anguish, which they might not have, but maybe they will. And it's about going through it, about surrendering to death, because then there's more, then there really is peace. But there's also a moment that lasts only an instant, but those instants can feel long. And if it's truly the very end, it's about being present. I'd say it's about presence, about holding their hand, about letting them know you're there, they're not alone, you're here. Maybe they don't need to talk because maybe they can't. Even everything is turning inward. Maybe they don't have the strength or the desire. And it's not because she's choosing to, it's just that the person isn't feeling well. So it's like a very, very deep withdrawal, an inwardness. And for the family members, it's about respecting this sometimes. Saying goodbye with love, understanding it, letting them go, and also feeling that they've done everything, that they've done everything right, everything possible, trying to make sure there are no unresolved matters.
Exactly. That's right. And to be honest, all of a sudden, to say the things you haven't, that you maybe haven't said, or that you haven't dared to communicate. It's like opening your heart completely when you're already in that stage, so that there isn't that feeling of suddenly, like, oh, I never told them that. I never told them I loved them in this way. You know what I mean? Like, not keeping that to yourself, but being honest, sharing it, it's always good. As long as it comes from the heart, as long as it's connected to love, it will always be positive, right? For the one who for the one who stays here, oh, and for the one who leaves.
Right. Yes, exactly. Yes, yes.
Vero, I want to thank you for joining us, for sharing your experiences with us today. I found it super interesting. It was really enjoyable for me. And well, nothing more than to thank you. And I think your journey is just beginning at this moment.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
We have to be grateful. And I also want to thank all of you for joining us in this episode. And as I always say, if you liked it, give it a like, subscribe, share this video, and that way we can reach many more people. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, subscribe so you can see the content we're creating every Wednesday. With that, see you next Wednesday. Take care. Bye.